The moment you decide to focus on yourself, your life begins to change in ways you never imagined. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you stop giving your power away. Most people spend their lives distracted by opinions, comparisons, and noise that has nothing to do with their growth. The truth is, when your attention is everywhere, your progress is nowhere. Focus brings order. Focus brings clarity. Focus brings results. When you focus on yourself, you stop reacting to everything around you. You stop chasing approval and start building character. You realize that your energy is limited, and wasting it on distractions is the fastest way to stay stuck. Growth requires attention, success requires discipline, and discipline begins with deciding what deserves your focus and what does not. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean ignoring the world, it means mastering your response to it. You learn to control your emotions instead of letting emotions control you. You stop explaining yourself to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You understand that not everyone needs access to your thoughts, your plans, or your journey. Silence becomes your strength, and consistency becomes your voice. When your focus shifts inward, you start seeing patterns you were too busy to notice before. You recognize habits that hold you back and strengths you never fully used. You stop blaming circumstances and start taking responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it's freedom. The moment you accept responsibility for your life, you gain the power to change it. Focus builds momentum. Small disciplined actions repeated daily begin to stack up. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once felt impossible starts to feel inevitable. You begin to trust yourself because you see proof of your effort. Confidence grows not from talking about goals, but from showing up for them consistently. When you focus on yourself, comparison fades. You stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. You understand that growth is personal and everyone's journey unfolds differently. This realization brings peace. Peace clears the mind. A clear mind makes better decisions. Better decisions lead to better outcomes. Distractions lose their grip when your focus is clear. Drama no longer pulls you in. Opinions no longer shake you. You become grounded. Calm becomes your default. From that calm, creativity flows. Solutions appear. Opportunities reveal themselves, not because you chased them, but because you were ready to see them. Focusing on yourself also strengthens patience. You stop rushing results and start respecting the process. You understand that real growth takes time, and shortcuts often cost more than they give. Patience allows skills to mature, character to develop, and confidence to solidify. What grows slowly grows strong. As focus deepens, alignment happens naturally. Your thoughts, actions, and values begin to move in the same direction. Life feels less chaotic and more intentional. You wake up knowing what matters. You move with purpose instead of pressure. That alignment reduces resistance. Things begin to fall into place not by force, but by flow. When you are focused, setbacks don't stop you, they teach you. You don't see obstacles as proof that you're failing, but as feedback guiding you forward. This mindset builds resilience. Resilience keeps you moving when motivation fades, and movement, even slow movement, keeps progress alive. Focusing on yourself changes how others see you, but more importantly, it changes how you see yourself. You carry yourself differently. You speak with intention. You act with confidence rooted in effort, not ego. People notice not because you demand attention, but because your presence has weight. Opportunities respond to preparation. Focus is preparation in action. When you are focused, you are ready when the moment arrives. You don't panic. You don't hesitate. You step forward because you've been doing the work quietly. That readiness is what makes success look effortless to others. Everything falling into place doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means you become prepared, prepared to handle pressure, prepared to make choices, prepared to grow through challenges instead of breaking under them. Focus doesn't remove difficulty, it gives you the strength to move through it. When you focus on yourself, you stop chasing balance and start creating it. You invest in your mind, your habits, and your discipline. Over time, those investments compound. Progress becomes visible. Confidence becomes natural. Peace becomes stable. The world doesn't need you to be louder. It needs you to be clearer, and clarity comes from focus. When you focus on yourself, everything else begins to align because you are no longer scattered. You are intentional, you are disciplined, you are becoming who you were meant to be. The moment you begin focusing on yourself, control slowly returns to your hands. Control is not about dominating others or forcing outcomes. It is about governing your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. Most people feel lost not because they lack ability, but because their attention is scattered. They are reacting to opinions, comparing themselves to others, and chasing validation instead of directing their energy inward. Focus brings order to chaos. When your attention becomes intentional, clarity follows. Clarity begins when you stop letting the outside world dictate your inner state. News, social media, conversations, and expectations constantly pull attention outward. Each distraction fragments your thinking. When you turn your focus inward, you begin separating what truly matters from what simply makes noise. This separation sharpens decision making. You start choosing actions based on values rather than impulses. That is where real control is built. Focusing on yourself allows you to understand your emotional patterns. You notice what triggers frustration, insecurity, or self-doubt. Awareness turns emotional reactions into conscious responses. Instead of being controlled by moods, you learn to manage them. This emotional control creates mental space. In that space, clarity grows. You are no longer overwhelmed by feelings, you are informed by them. Control also grows through self-observation. When you pay attention to your habits, you see which behaviors move you forward and which hold you back. You stop blaming circumstances and start adjusting routines. This shift is empowering. Responsibility replaces excuses. With responsibility comes choice. With choice comes control. You are no longer waiting for life to change. You are changing how you move through life. Clarity strengthens when distractions lose their power. As focus increases, external opinions matter less. You stop measuring yourself against someone else's progress. Comparison fades because your attention is on improvement, not competition. This mental freedom clears confusion. You stop asking who you should be and start understanding who you are becoming. Focusing on yourself also simplifies goals. Instead of chasing everything, you choose what aligns with your strengths and values. Fewer goals mean deeper effort. Deeper effort produces better results. Clarity turns ambition into direction. Direction turns effort into progress. Progress reinforces control because you see proof that your actions matter. When focus is internal, confidence grows naturally. Confidence does not come from praise, it comes from understanding your capabilities. As you focus on self-improvement, skills develop. As skills develop, trust in yourself increases. That trust stabilizes emotions and sharpens judgment. You become less reactive and more intentional. Clarity also emerges through consistency. When you focus daily on small, disciplined actions, patterns form. These patterns create structure. Structure reduces uncertainty. With less uncertainty, mental clarity improves. You know what to do because you have practiced doing it. Control becomes habit rather than effort. Focusing on yourself helps you detach from unnecessary conflicts. You realize that not every situation deserves your reaction. This restraint preserves energy. Preserved energy can be invested in growth. Growth reinforces clarity because you see the direct link between focus and outcome. As clarity strengthens, stress decreases. Many worries come from lack of direction. When you are focused, direction becomes clear. You know where your energy is going. This certainty calms the mind. Calm allows clearer thinking. Clear thinking leads to better decisions. Control and clarity also shape identity. You stop defining yourself through labels and start defining yourself through actions. Identity becomes grounded in behavior. This grounding creates stability. You are no longer swayed by temporary emotions or opinions. Focusing on yourself does not isolate you, it centers you. From that center, interactions improve. You communicate with intention, you listen more, you respond thoughtfully. Relationships become healthier because you are not projecting confusion or insecurity. Clarity also enhances resilience. When challenges appear, focus keeps you anchored. You are less likely to panic because you understand your capabilities. Control allows you to adjust rather than collapse. This adaptability strengthens confidence further. Over time, focus transforms effort into alignment. Your thoughts, habits, and goals move together. Life feels less scattered. You feel present. Presence improves awareness. Awareness improves choices. Choices shape outcomes. The return of control is subtle but powerful. You begin trusting yourself again. Trust removes hesitation. Action becomes smoother. Progress feels natural. When clarity is present, motivation becomes less necessary. You move because you know where you are going. Focus provides that direction. Direction sustains momentum. By focusing on yourself, you stop waiting for clarity from the outside. You generate it internally. That internal clarity becomes a compass. With a compass, you move forward confidently, regardless of uncertainty around you. When you focus on yourself, discipline becomes the foundation of your growth. Discipline is not punishment, it is self-respect in action. Most people associate discipline with restriction, but in reality it is liberation. Without discipline, emotions lead decisions. With discipline, values lead decisions. When you focus inward, you start recognizing how often comfort has been choosing for you. Awareness of that pattern is the first step toward change. Discipline begins with small choices that are easy to ignore. Waking up when it is uncomfortable, staying consistent when motivation disappears, choosing long-term benefit over short-term relief. These decisions shape identity. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you want to become. When you focus on yourself, you stop negotiating with weakness and start building agreements with your future. Consistency is discipline repeated over time. Anyone can be motivated for a day, but consistency requires focus. When attention is scattered, habits collapse. When focus is intentional, habits stabilize. You stop relying on inspiration and start relying on systems. Systems remove emotional dependence. You do not need to feel ready. You move because it is who you are becoming. Focusing on yourself teaches patience. Discipline does not deliver instant rewards. Results are delayed. This delay is where most people quit. They confuse slow progress with failure. When you are focused inward, you understand that growth is happening even when it is not visible. Discipline trains you to trust the process rather than chase applause. Mental strength is built in moments when no one is watching. Discipline thrives in silence. When you stop performing for validation, your effort becomes honest. Honest effort compounds. Each quiet repetition strengthens character. Character creates reliability. Reliability creates confidence that does not shake under pressure. Focusing on yourself also clarifies priorities. Discipline fails when priorities are unclear. When everything feels important, nothing is. Internal focus forces you to decide what truly matters. Once priorities are set, discipline becomes easier because choices are simplified. You are no longer debating, you are executing. Discipline sharpens self-control. You learn to pause before reacting. That pause is power. In that space, you choose response instead of reaction. Over time, emotional impulses lose authority. You stop being controlled by cravings, anger, or fear. Control returns to intention. As discipline strengthens, distractions lose appeal. You begin to recognize how much energy has been wasted on things that do not move you forward. Focus redirects that energy. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once required effort becomes habit. This shift changes how you see yourself. Self-discipline also creates trust within yourself. Broken promises weaken confidence. Kept promises strengthen it. When you focus on yourself and follow through consistently, self-trust grows. That trust becomes an internal support system. You no longer depend on external reassurance. You believe yourself because you have evidence. Discipline teaches delayed gratification. You stop chasing immediate pleasure and start investing in future stability. This mindset reduces anxiety. You know you are building something, even if it is not finished yet. That certainty calms the mind. Internal focus transforms discipline from force into identity. You stop asking whether you feel like doing something. You do it because it aligns with who you are becoming. Identity-based discipline is sustainable. It does not exhaust you, it strengthens you. Challenges become training rather than obstacles. When discipline is present, difficulty is expected, not feared. You understand that resistance is part of progress. This understanding removes frustration. Instead of quitting, you adapt. Over time, disciplined focus creates momentum. Momentum reduces resistance. Movement generates clarity. Clarity reinforces discipline. This cycle builds stability in all areas of life. When you focus on yourself, discipline becomes a quiet strength. It does not announce itself. It shows in consistency, reliability, and composure. You begin moving with purpose instead of pressure. You are no longer chasing motivation. You are embodying commitment when you focus on yourself. Emotional control becomes a skill rather than a struggle. Most people are not defeated by circumstances, they are defeated by their reactions. Emotions are powerful, but power without direction becomes chaos. Internal focus teaches you that feelings are signals, not commands. You learn to observe them instead of obeying them. That shift alone changes the trajectory of your life. Emotional control does not mean suppression, it means understanding. When you react instantly, you give control away. When you pause, you take it back. Focusing on yourself creates that pause. You begin to notice triggers, patterns, and repeated emotional loops. Awareness interrupts the cycle. Once you see the pattern, you are no longer trapped inside it. Silence strengthens emotional intelligence. When you stop explaining yourself to everyone, you conserve mental energy. You no longer need to win arguments or prove worth. That restraint builds inner authority. Authority over yourself is more valuable than influence over others. It allows you to remain calm in moments designed to provoke you. Emotional discipline grows when you stop personalizing everything. Not every action is about you. Not every opinion deserves your reaction. Internal focus helps separate ego from reality. When ego is quiet, clarity speaks. You respond with intention instead of defensiveness. That response carries strength, not weakness. Focusing on yourself also reveals how emotions influence decisions. Impulsive choices often come from unresolved feelings. Anger spends energy quickly. Fear avoids growth. Pleasure delays progress. When you recognize these patterns, you stop letting emotions steer your direction. You choose based on values, not moods. Control is built through repetition. Each time you choose calm over chaos, you reinforce the habit. At first, it feels unnatural. Over time, it becomes automatic. Emotional mastery is trained, not inherited. It is built in small moments where restraint is chosen over reaction. Internal focus reduces the need for validation. Many emotional reactions come from wanting approval or recognition. When you validate yourself, external opinions lose power. Criticism no longer shakes you. Praise no longer defines you. Stability replaces volatility. You begin to understand that peace is a skill. It is not given by circumstances, it is built by discipline. When life applies pressure, emotional control keeps you grounded. You do not break under stress because you are not resisting it. You are navigating it. Focusing on yourself also strengthens empathy. When you understand your own emotions, you understand others without absorbing their chaos. You can listen without reacting. You can care without carrying burdens that are not yours. This balance protects your mental space. Emotional control improves communication. Instead of speaking from frustration, you speak from clarity. Words carry weight when they are not rushed. Silence becomes strategic rather than awkward. People feel your presence without you raising your voice. Challenges no longer feel personal attacks. They feel like tests of composure. Each test strengthens confidence. Confidence grows not from dominance, but from self-mastery. You trust yourself to handle pressure. Internal focus also reduces regret. Emotional reactions often lead to words and actions that cannot be taken back. Control prevents damage before it happens. You protect relationships by protecting your responses. Over time, emotional control creates respect, not because you demand it, but because people sense stability. Stability attracts trust. Trust opens opportunities. This is how inner work produces external results. When emotions are managed, focus improves, distraction fades, mental clarity sharpens, you think better, decide better, and act with precision. Life feels less overwhelming because you are not fighting yourself. Focusing on yourself transforms emotional storms into passing weather. You feel them without being consumed by them. That ability creates resilience. You bend without breaking. You adapt without losing direction. Emotional control becomes your quiet advantage. It is not loud, but it is powerful. It allows you to move through life with composure, intention, and strength, even when everything around you is unstable when you focus on yourself. Discipline stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like freedom. Most people believe discipline takes something away from them, but in reality, it gives everything back. It gives clarity, direction, and self-respect. Without discipline, motivation becomes unreliable. With discipline, progress becomes inevitable. Focusing on yourself teaches you that success is built in private. No applause, no recognition, no shortcuts, just daily choices repeated long enough to create results. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. That choice made consistently reshapes identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who finishes. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. Anyone can give effort for a day, a week, or a month. Very few people can show up when excitement fades. Internal focus trains you to work without needing inspiration. You learn to move even when you don't feel like it. That ability separates growth from stagnation. When you stop comparing your pace to others, discipline becomes easier. Comparison creates impatience. Patience creates mastery. Everyone's journey has a different rhythm. Internal focus allows you to respect your process. You stop rushing outcomes and start trusting effort. That trust builds momentum. Self-discipline also teaches you how to say no. No to distractions, no to comfort, no to habits that feel good now but cost you later. Every no strengthens your yes. Each boundary protects your future. Discipline is not restriction, it is alignment. It aligns actions with long-term vision. Focusing on yourself reduces the need to explain your choices. Discipline does not seek approval, it seeks results. When your goals are clear, opinions become background noise. You don't argue your plans, you execute them. Silence becomes productive. Progress becomes your response. Routine becomes your foundation. Not rigid, but reliable. When life feels unpredictable, routine creates stability. Small, disciplined actions anchor you when emotions fluctuate. You don't rely on willpower alone, you rely on systems. Systems outperform motivation every time. Discipline also builds self-trust. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens confidence. Every promise you break weakens it. Internal focus highlights this relationship. You realize confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you earn through consistency. There will be days when discipline feels heavy. Those days matter most. Anyone can act when conditions are perfect. Growth happens when conditions are uncomfortable. When you show up anyway, you reinforce your identity. You become someone who does not negotiate with excuses. Focusing on yourself helps you understand that discipline is a skill, not a personality trait. It can be trained. It improves with repetition. You start small. You build gradually. You don't aim for perfection. You aim for progress. Progress compounds quietly. Discipline changes how you handle time. You stop wasting it on things that drain you. You become intentional. Time becomes an investment, not something to kill. That awareness creates urgency without anxiety. Internal focus also reframes failure. Discipline does not eliminate mistakes. It shortens recovery time. You fall, you adjust, you continue. No drama, no self-pity, just movement forward. That mindset keeps you consistent even when results are delayed. As discipline strengthens, distractions lose their grip. You no longer chase every opportunity or react to every message. Focus narrows, energy concentrates. When effort is focused, outcomes accelerate. People often mistake discipline for harshness. In reality, it is self-respect in action. You do what needs to be done because your future deserves it. You take care of yourself by staying committed to growth. Over time, discipline creates calm. When you know you are doing the work, anxiety decreases. You trust the process because you are part of it. Results stop feeling random, they feel earned. Focusing on yourself teaches you that discipline is not about control over life, but control over self. And when you master yourself, life becomes easier to navigate. When you focus on yourself, you slowly detach from the need for validation, and that shift changes everything. Most people give their power away without realizing it. They wait for approval before they move, for recognition before they commit, for applause before they believe. External validation feels good for a moment, but it is unstable. It depends on moods, opinions, trends, and timing. When your confidence is tied to that, your progress becomes fragile. Internal focus teaches you that your worth is not decided by reactions. You stop measuring your value by likes, praise, or attention. Instead, you measure it by effort, growth, and integrity. You begin asking yourself better questions. Did I show up today? Did I improve even slightly? Did I act in alignment with who I want to become? Those answers matter more than any compliment. When validation is no longer your fuel, consistency becomes easier. You are no longer performing, you are building. Performance needs an audience, building needs commitment. This is where real transformation happens: quiet work, unseen effort, and patience with the process. You stop announcing plans and start executing them. Silence becomes a strategy, not a weakness. Focusing on yourself also exposes how much energy is wasted trying to be understood. You don't need everyone to understand your path. Most people are busy with their own struggles anyway. Once you accept that, you free up mental space. That space can be used for learning, practicing, refining, and growing. Progress accelerates when attention is not scattered. There is strength in moving quietly. When you are not constantly explaining yourself, you avoid unnecessary resistance. Opinions lose influence, doubt loses volume. You hear your own thoughts more clearly. That clarity improves decision making. You begin choosing actions based on long-term alignment rather than short-term approval. Internal validation builds resilience. When things go wrong, and they will, you don't collapse. You don't feel the need to justify yourself or seek reassurance. You assess, adjust, and continue. Your stability comes from within, not from circumstances. That stability allows you to stay grounded even when results are delayed. Focusing on yourself also changes how you handle criticism. Instead of reacting emotionally, you evaluate it objectively. If it's useful, you apply it. If it's noise, you discard it. You no longer personalize everything. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every opinion deserves space in your mind. When you stop chasing validation, your relationships improve. You are no longer trying to impress. You show up authentically. You listen more. You speak with intention. You set boundaries without guilt. People may not always agree with you, but they will feel your confidence. That confidence is quiet, not loud. It doesn't demand attention. It commands respect. Internal focus teaches you patience with yourself. You understand that growth is not instant. You stop rushing milestones just to prove something. You respect your pace. You allow yourself to learn, to fail, to adjust. That patience reduces frustration. You become more consistent because you are no longer pressuring yourself to meet external timelines. There is also freedom in not needing to be seen. You work because the work matters, not because someone is watching. That mindset removes pressure and replaces it with purpose. You enjoy the process more. You feel less anxious about outcomes. You trust that effort compounds even when it's invisible. When validation no longer drives you, discipline strengthens. You don't rely on motivation from others. You don't need encouragement to continue. You show up because that's who you are becoming. Identity replaces motivation. Actions become habits. Habits shape results. Focusing on yourself means you stop outsourcing confidence. You don't wait for permission to believe in your vision. You don't need consensus to move forward. You take responsibility for your direction. That responsibility is heavy at first, but it becomes empowering. You realize your life is not something happening to you. It is something you are actively creating. This internal alignment creates peace, not the absence of challenges, but the absence of inner conflict. Your actions and values start matching. When they match, energy flows naturally. You waste less time overthinking. You move with intention. Even difficult days feel meaningful because they serve a larger purpose. As validation loses importance, focus sharpens. You stop reacting and start responding. You choose silence over argument, progress over proof, growth over attention. And in that space, confidence deepens, clarity strengthens, and everything begins to fall into place without force or noise. Patience and trust in the process are what separate temporary effort from lasting success. Most people quit not because they are incapable, but because they expect results before the work has had time to take root. When you focus on yourself, you begin to understand that growth follows its own timeline. You stop trying to rush outcomes and start respecting the rhythm of progress. Everything meaningful takes time. Skills, confidence, discipline, emotional control, financial stability, and inner peace are all built layer by layer. When impatience takes over, it creates frustration. Frustration leads to comparison, and comparison leads to doubt. Trusting the process protects you from that cycle. It allows you to keep showing up even when nothing seems to be happening. Focusing on yourself teaches you that effort is never wasted. Even on days when results are invisible, something is happening beneath the surface. Your mindset is strengthening. Your habits are forming. Your tolerance for discomfort is increasing. These internal shifts matter more than immediate rewards. They are what make long-term success sustainable. Patience also changes how you respond to setbacks. Instead of seeing them as signs to quit, you begin to see them as part of the path. Every delay teaches something. Every obstacle reveals a weakness that needs strengthening. When you trust the process, setbacks lose their power to discourage you. They become information rather than punishment. Many people confuse patience with passivity. They think trusting the process means waiting without action. In reality, it means acting consistently without obsessing over outcomes. You do the work daily, regardless of how you feel. You stay committed even when motivation fades. You don't need constant confirmation that you're on the right path. You trust your preparation. When you focus on yourself, you learn to detach from urgency created by society. Everyone wants instant results, overnight success, and quick validation. That pressure creates anxiety and poor decisions. Trusting the process allows you to move at a pace that builds strength instead of stress. You make better choices because you are not desperate. Patience improves emotional control. You stop reacting to every delay or disappointment. You remain calm under pressure because you understand that time is an ally, not an enemy. This emotional stability gives you an advantage. While others panic, you continue. While others rush, you refine. Trusting the process also strengthens self-belief. You don't need constant reassurance because you've seen yourself stay consistent before. You've experienced slow progress turn into real change. That history builds confidence. You know that if you keep going, results will come, even if the timeline is unclear. When patience becomes part of your mindset, you stop comparing your journey to others. You understand that everyone starts from a different place with different challenges. Comparison only creates unnecessary pressure. Focus keeps you grounded in your own path. Trust keeps you moving forward without distraction. There is also humility in trusting the process. You accept that you don't control everything. You control your effort, your discipline, and your mindset, but not timing. That acceptance reduces stress. You stop fighting reality and start working with it. You conserve energy instead of wasting it on frustration. Focusing on yourself builds patience because your attention is no longer scattered. You are not constantly checking progress, seeking feedback, or questioning your direction. You are immersed in the work. Immersion creates flow. Flow makes time pass without anxiety. Progress feels natural instead of forced. Trusting the process doesn't mean you never adjust. It means you adjust without panic. You evaluate calmly, you refine strategies, you improve systems, but you don't abandon the mission at the first sign of discomfort. You understand that discomfort is often proof of growth. As patience deepens, your relationship with success changes. Success becomes something you build, not something you chase. You stop chasing motivation and start relying on discipline. Discipline doesn't need excitement, it needs commitment. Commitment grows when you trust that effort compounds. Over time, patience creates momentum. Small actions repeated daily start producing visible results. When those results appear, they feel earned. They feel stable. You are ready to handle them because you grew while waiting for them. That's the difference between fast results and real results. When you trust the process, anxiety decreases. You stop worrying about when things will happen. You focus on what you can control today. That focus creates peace. Peace allows clarity. Clarity improves execution. Everything becomes connected. Focusing on yourself teaches you that patience is not weakness. It is discipline stretched over time. It is confidence without noise. It is the ability to keep moving forward without needing proof at every step. And when you live with that mindset, progress becomes inevitable, steady, and lasting when your thoughts and actions are aligned. Life begins to move with less resistance. Many people struggle not because they lack ability, but because what they think, what they say, and what they do are all pulling in different directions. Focusing on yourself brings awareness to this gap. You start noticing where your intentions don't match your behavior and where your words don't match your effort. That awareness is the first step toward real change. Alignment starts in the mind. Your thoughts shape your decisions, and your decisions shape your habits. When your mind is cluttered with doubt, fear, comparison, or external noise, your actions become inconsistent. One day you push forward, the next day you pull back. But when you focus inward, you simplify your thinking. You become clear about what matters and what doesn't. That clarity allows your actions to become deliberate instead of reactive. When thoughts and actions are aligned, discipline becomes easier. You no longer fight yourself every day. There is no internal argument about whether to show up or not. Your mind and body move together toward the same goal. This unity creates momentum. Momentum removes hesitation, and hesitation is often the biggest enemy of progress. Alignment also reduces emotional exhaustion. Many people feel tired not because they are doing too much, but because they are constantly conflicted inside. They want growth but fear discomfort. They want success but avoid responsibility. That internal conflict drains energy. When you focus on yourself and align your actions with your values, that conflict fades. Energy that was wasted on indecision becomes fuel for execution. When your actions reflect your values, confidence grows naturally. You trust yourself because you do what you say you will do. You don't need external validation because your integrity becomes your proof. Confidence built this way is quiet and stable. It doesn't disappear when circumstances change because it is rooted in self-respect. Alignment also sharpens focus. Distractions lose their power when your purpose is clear. You stop chasing everything and start committing to something. Your time, energy, and attention are invested intentionally. This focus accelerates growth because progress requires depth, not constant movement. When thoughts and actions align, patience becomes natural. You are not constantly questioning your path because you know why you're on it. You are not easily discouraged because your effort feels meaningful. Even slow progress feels satisfying because it is honest progress. Alignment attracts opportunities, not in a magical sense, but in a practical one. When you are consistent, disciplined, and clear, people notice. Trust builds, reliability opens doors. Opportunities often come to those who are prepared internally, not just those who seek externally. Focusing on yourself also means removing contradictions from your life. You stop saying you want peace while feeding chaos. You stop saying you want growth while avoiding responsibility. You stop saying you want change while repeating the same habits. This honesty is uncomfortable at first, but it is powerful. It forces you to either adjust your actions or adjust your goals. Either way, alignment improves. When alignment is present, setbacks don't shake you as much. You don't question your worth or direction every time something goes wrong. You analyze, adjust, and continue. Because your foundation is internal, external turbulence doesn't control you. Alignment also deepens self-trust. You become someone you can rely on. You don't need motivation speeches every day because your actions reinforce your belief. Self-trust reduces anxiety. Anxiety often comes from uncertainty about whether you'll follow through. When alignment is strong, that uncertainty disappears. As thoughts and actions align, life begins to feel simpler, not easier but clearer. Decisions take less energy. Priorities become obvious. You stop overthinking and start executing. This simplicity creates flow. Flow creates consistency. Consistency creates results. When you focus on yourself long enough, alignment stops being something you work on and becomes who you are. Your values guide your choices automatically. Your actions reflect your intentions naturally. And when that happens, things start falling into place not because life is perfect, but because you are no longer fighting yourself. Preparation is the quiet work that most people ignore, yet it is the reason some individuals appear lucky while others struggle. When you focus on yourself, you begin to understand that nothing truly falls into place by accident. What looks like coincidence is usually the result of unseen discipline, consistent effort, and mental readiness built over time. Preparedness starts with habits. Daily routines shape your ability to respond when opportunities arise. If your habits are weak, opportunities feel overwhelming. If your habits are strong, opportunities feel familiar. Focusing on yourself means refining these habits when no one is watching. It means waking up with purpose, training your mind to stay disciplined, and committing to improvement even on ordinary days. Mental preparation is just as important as physical effort. Life will test your patience, your confidence, and your emotional control. When you are unprepared mentally, pressure causes panic. Panic leads to poor decisions, but when your mind is trained through focus and self-discipline, pressure becomes manageable. You stay calm, you think clearly. You act intentionally. Preparation also involves learning from failure. Every setback offers information. People who avoid reflection repeat mistakes. People who focus on themselves study those moments. They ask what went wrong, what needs improvement, and how to adjust. Over time, this reflection builds wisdom. Wisdom prepares you for challenges before they even appear. When you focus inward, you stop waiting for motivation and start building readiness. Motivation is temporary. Preparedness is permanent. You don't need to feel inspired to act because your systems carry you forward. You show up because it's who you are, not because you feel like it. Preparedness changes how you view time. You stop seeing waiting as wasted effort. Waiting becomes training. Every quiet phase strengthens you. While others complain about slow progress, you are sharpening skills, strengthening discipline, and refining mindset. When the moment arrives, you are not scrambling, you are ready. Focusing on yourself also prepares you emotionally. Emotional preparedness means you don't let ego control your reactions. You don't overreact to criticism or crumble under pressure. You understand yourself well enough to manage your responses. This emotional stability is rare, and it gives you a powerful advantage. Preparation creates confidence that doesn't depend on outcomes. You trust yourself because you've done the work. You know that even if things don't go as planned, you can adapt. That confidence allows you to take risks without fear. Fear fades when preparation is strong. When preparation meets opportunity, results feel natural. There is no shock, no disbelief, no chaos. Success feels like a continuation of what you've already been doing. This is why some people handle success gracefully while others self-destruct. One group prepared for it, the other didn't. Focusing on yourself helps you recognize opportunities when they appear. Many opportunities are missed not because they don't exist, but because people aren't ready to see them. Preparation sharpens awareness. You notice chances others overlook because your mind is clear and your direction is defined. Preparedness also means accepting responsibility. You stop blaming circumstances and start owning outcomes. This ownership pushes you to improve continuously. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You become prepared in imperfect ones. Over time, preparation becomes part of your identity. You are no longer reacting to life. You are anticipating it. You don't fear challenges because you've trained for them. You don't chase success because you're aligned with it. When focus, discipline, and preparation come together, life begins to cooperate. Not because everything goes smoothly, but because you are ready for whatever comes. And when that readiness becomes consistent, things start falling into place in ways that feel effortless, earned, and inevitable. When you truly focus on yourself, everything begins to shift from the inside out. Your mind becomes clearer, your actions more intentional, and your energy more protected. You stop chasing validation and start building value. Discipline replaces distraction, patience replaces urgency, and alignment replaces confusion. As you grow internally, life responds externally. Opportunities no longer feel forced because you are prepared for them. Challenges no longer break you because you understand your purpose. Confidence becomes quiet, strength becomes steady, and progress becomes inevitable. When your thoughts, habits, and actions move in the same direction, life doesn't need to be controlled. It starts cooperating, and that is the moment when everything truly falls into place.